All right, welcome one and all to Sparks channel. Some entertainment. Today we're going over Epstein. Mostly the one thing that I've noticed, at least the last couple of days, with the most recent mission being that it was known that underage women were being hired to work on an island while being hired from a spa that they worked at underage. You get where I'm going with this? The implication is right here.
Staff from Mar-a-Lago. Listen.
People were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone.
One of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know.
CBS News.
What the hell opens up with knowing that Epstein hired women, young women, underage women, to work on his island? I mean, he knew this individual very, very well. So he implies that he knew what they were being hired for. Mind you, he was also hiring underage women. He just admitted to it. Like, I don't know what the laws in Florida were at the time, but to have very young women work at a spa, your spa that you run and organize, that's just, besides the immoral implications of that, just based on how we, in this modern day and age, see children and respect the existence of children and their innocence. Just that alone is worrisome. And if you come with the arguments like, oh, statute of limitations, yada, 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 blah, 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 whatever, sure, happened like a decade ago or over that. But the fact that, mind you, this is currently the person that's in office under oath every time that he speaks, because he represents our country, right? It's starting to click, the gear's starting to work. So it's pretty straightforward that there's perjury going on, because he has lied about what he has known and what he does not know about this instance, and not even count everything else that he's lied about. But unfortunately, we just don't have the checks and balances actually working. They just don't work. There's no proper representation, right? The judicial system's been basically silenced with the national injunction ruling. I don't even hear of any lawsuits or individual lawsuits that are coming up in various different instances of human rights violations. So, I mean, this is as straightforward as you can be to implicating the person that runs our country to a certain individual, Epstein. It's just wow. Wow, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum that you're on. I mean, it's right there. You just said it. And you okay with that? So he admitted to hiring underage girls to work at a spa, and the Department of Justice is going to remain blind to that conduct when he wasn't president or running for president. So what's going to happen? What is anything going to happen? Are we just in an idiocracy officially? Not even a democracy? I mean, these are very important things to consider because this is supposed to be a government run by the people for the people. And like the branches and the checks and balances, they've been so corrupted to a point with either money or their own ideological beliefs. Excuse me. I'm just trying to stay on track because this is a lot. And I mean, it's been obvious for so long, no matter how ignorant you might be toward what's going on. But it's very important. It's important for all of us because, as we're seeing right now, the strides in censorship that are basically stripping away our Fourth Amendment rights in an attempt. You know, we were always told that we shouldn't put our personal information on the internet. Meanwhile, now we're being forced to. And we've seen with the innovations in AI and how easy it is to have things leaked, hacked, and the fact that even Sam Altman himself has a fear of this being a big issue with AI being fraudulent, being used to basically make up people's identities or copy their identities and be used in a malicious way. And same thing with videos, right? You kind of see where this is going, especially when important aspects of evidence and words and things that are under oath are just they're disregarded, they're ignored. The law isn't being implemented. The Constitution isn't being implemented in any sense. So we're officially an idiocracy at this point, corrupt from local authorities all the way up to the top of each branch of government. This is bad. It's bad. It's not worse than the British monarchy back in the 1700s. As you can just, while it's still available, read the Declaration of Independence. If you don't understand certain words in there, go use a dictionary. Read that, learn. If you don't understand words in the dictionary meaning, go look those up too. It's a little bit of a rabbit hole, but it all makes sense if you take the time to understand it. Right? It's that simple. So, I mean, the DOI itself is a listing of all the grievances and reasons in which was the fundamental basis for drafting and ratifying the U.S. Constitution. Both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution were unanimously passed. Constitution itself took probably about 3 years, I think. Took multiple years in order to get everything down to a fundamental basis to ensure the preservation of existence of the people, you know, government for the people, by the people, right? To ensure that that form of autocracy, the monarchy, which was corrupted, would not happen again. They did it the best that they could. Granted, there was a mix of lawyers, scientists, people owners, and that's back then things were different, and we'll go over that as well. Because, I mean, it's all relative. Take, for instance, if you go on my thesis site, I actually apply and utilize the philosophical understanding of the theory of everything, essentially, that I'm working on, to the Constitution. I'm still working on it, but I've gotten to about the Fourth Amendment, as well as I've already went through most of the articles as well. But if you take a bit to read through what I have here, I go over the definitions, I go over the history, I go over the meaning behind the words in the damn Constitution. The whole point being to preserve the existence for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It's all relative to existence and truth. We hold these truths to be self-evident, right? It's that simple. People have fought for centuries. Soldiers have died protecting our government, protecting this understanding in order to maintain trust and balance in society. And now a lot of that's been eroded away due to posturing and what we're seeing now, like right in front of our faces. I don't even mean to be alarmist, but it's like at this point, between the development of Big Brother, the whole Palantir network and surveillance systems, it's going to get to a point where between that and the SEC changing how it controls biases or ideologies that are presented in media, destroying the First Amendment when it comes to any corporate form of media, of speech, of anything. It's going to destroy art, like we're seeing with video games. Granted, we can have a sense of understanding when it comes to, you know, the bad things in video games that are being represented, but many of the times with those games, they're teaching a cause and effect. They're teaching that there's consequences behind certain actions, and that if you do those things, you're showed them, right? And it's to help you kind of have a sense of understanding to the reality of those situations without having to actually experience those situations. Or maybe I'm just one of the only people that think like that. I don't know. I mean, same thing goes with this implication. I don't see anyone making the connection that the spa had underage workers, underage female workers, and that it was known that they were being hired by a child sex trafficker to work on their island. It wasn't that they were disappeared. I mean, if that was the case, then this was allowed to happen. That women were disappeared. He says that he knew that they were stolen, right? So why didn't he report it? If that's how you view it. But he also says that they were hired, so he knew. He's been known. And you can trace all this back to truth, to reason and intent, to why things are happening the way they are. And we're going to go touch real quick. Where'd my boy go? Right here. Predictive history. Go check him out. Professor Yang clips. He makes the comparison as clear as day. Right? So this is the good ending. Robespierre. Virtue and dedication. Profit of reason. You know, moral values. You know, believing in existence. Saved the French Revolution. Did the right thing. And then the comparisons. Napoleon. Caesar. The H word. And then, which I can kind of see why it's difficult to see this, because I think everyone's a little scared right now. I think I'm not the only one that's seeing things the way they are. But it's pretty obvious when you just look at this chart right here. Political maneuvering, posturing. Myth-making genius, lying. And posturing. Destroy the Republic, destroy the Republic, destroy the Republic. We are a democratic republic. I don't know if anyone understands that. I don't know if enough people understand the history of Democrat Party and the Republican Party. I mean, I miss the old Republican Party, back when they had standards and morals. You know, Bush actually cared about education, and that was important, but then I guess they realized the dangers in being too smart, or too woke, taking the time to understand things. So, attack critical thinking, use, you know, understanding that people want to do things with their own bodies, they want to have their own rights, they want to be able to pursue their own happiness without infringing on anyone else's rights. Because most of the time, you know, when it comes to people want to be trans or anything else, I mean, they want to live a certain way. They have their own expectations, but are they hurting anybody actually? Like, truly? No. I mean, if your kids see that, just explain that some people want to do what they want to do. It's not that hard. Just because you don't like it? Like, that's why we have a First Amendment. Like, fuck your opinion. Just worry about existing. Worrying about, you know, the community, the society, your neighbors, the people that are out in the streets that are now going to be thrown into long-term institutions for one reason or another, whatever's made up. Like, it's all there. And this is why I at least take it as seriously as I do and try to promote this sort of understanding. Because it's important to have it if you're going to survive. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson, as I choke on my own tongue, had a little short that I saw. From the beginning of human history up until about the 1840s, or before modern medicine, the life expectancy only went up about 5 years, from 30 to 35. From that point of the 1800s to now, life expectancy has shot up to the 70s, 80s. Like, there's a reason why science is important. So go find that clip as well. Go check that out. Take the time to learn things. And then use your brain, let it sit, compare it to other things, and then the truths really do become self-evident. So because of the amount of misunderstandings within the government and society itself, which exponentially adds to the chaos and distrust that already exists because everything is labeled as a hoax and witch hunt, along with too many monetary influences, as was present in the 1700s British monarchy. Read the Declaration of Independence, you'll see it there. They also touch on migration. Very important. It's basically over at this point, at least, as we exist, as we're able to talk to each other and communicate to each other and try to facilitate a better understanding of what's going on, there's a chance. As long as we have that. But once that's taken away, and, you know, as history is repeating itself yet again, but this time it's the United States. Instead of Germany, France, Italy, and Russia. As we've seen, history shows us lessons, and it's on us if we're ignorant of those lessons and how things ended up the way they were. So unless the Supreme Court or any branch of government acts appropriately relative to the Constitution, this includes the military. They can figure this out too. It doesn't matter who the Department of Defense head is. They can figure that out. You know, they can court-martial, or they have options. And I'm hoping that people will have the moral integrity and moral value to do the right thing to preserve existence. Don't mean to be inflammatory or anything like that. We don't want the worst possible outcomes, and in order to prevent that, we have to understand how those come about and work around what we can. So, relative to the true meanings of the definitions of the words written within the Constitution regarding treason, by definition as treason, can be either intentional or unintentional. In regards to the Constitution, it is self-stated, the supreme law of the land. So, when the Constitution, designed as a way to preserve existence of the people which are governed under its jurisdiction, regardless of citizenship, as all men, all women, all children, all human beings, make it simple. Back then, things were a little different. There were roles. They had a different way of living than we do now. That's just a fact. But we're all human by the end of the day, and I think a lot of us forget that. So as is recognized that all people are endowed with inalienable rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, as stated within these documents, along with a Bill of Rights supporting those rights fundamentally while imposing real limits on the government, understanding the dangers that were experienced under a corrupted British rule. It's as simple as that. Hell yeah, brother. So unfortunately, the true weakness to the Constitution is blatant ignorance of the meanings of the very words within it, which is, I mean, seeing it. Along with the misdirection, misinterpretations, and constant posturing that clearly and intentionally go against the supreme law of the land to avoid any accountability because of a brand. Because it's for a legacy. Because someone wants their name to be known as the best. That's it. You can trace back the reasons and the intents just simply by the actions alone. Not even just the words, but by the actions. All for a legacy of lies and corruption to be recognized as the greatest thing to ever exist on the planet. All ironic, moronic, and counteractive to the existence of everyone in the world. As I see it, one may want everything, but in order to have everything, you have to take everything away from everyone else. That is simply how that works. Doesn't matter the type of resources, doesn't matter how you think of it. But if someone wants everything, those are the sacrifices that are made. And it goes against everyone else's existence because we all need stuff to survive. We all need enough to survive, at least. That understanding needs to be made. Or this is just going to keep getting worse. Right? That's just a matter of fact. No one person should have everything. Because then what are they going to have left? Right? Then what's the point? So it's an oxymoron. The metaphor that just has so much truth to it. Because as this is going on, as many in the world see this for what it truly is over time, and if you don't see it now, if you don't understand or take the time to understand what other people's experiences are, if you're ignorant of that, then the lessons might come to you the hard way. And that's I'd rather not. I'd rather people take the time to understand things now to prevent those hardships, to prevent having to learn the hard way. Because unfortunately, a lot of us, when we want to learn about our own experiences, especially bad ones that happened before and why they happened, that's unfortunately the time that people will eventually then take the time, if they have the time, to understand what happened. Otherwise, they just go about their day. And it sucks. But that's the two ways to go about it. There's the easy way and there's the hard way. And it's important to understand that. As virtue, as fact. As all truths are self-evident. That all truths can be traced back to their very reasons and intent. Whole meaning of justice. Go read the constitutional analysis. I touch on that as well. As time always tells the truth eventually as recognized by the foundational documents of the United States of America itself. To go against the truth is to threaten the existence of all those who understand it, and if you don't understand that now, then we'll all eventually learn the hard way by virtue of consequences of such ignorance. Ignorance may be bliss, but it might also spell the end for you. If you're the one receiving the consequences of someone else's ignorance. The amount of distrust and everything else that's been sown into all this, the information war that's been going on for centuries, played out over and over and over again, different societies, different governments. These are important things to consider if we're going to want to understand what might possibly happen next. So, it's relative to the thesis, link on my channel. I'll put the link here as well. I mean, not everything's going to be correct. Even predictive history as well. I've seen in his comments that there was a lot of things that people didn't agree with his revelations of the past and how he viewed certain political parties and stuff. And I get that. We're all human. We're all limited by what we can perceive, what we can experience, what we can understand. That's just a fact. We have innate human error built in. It's fine. There's a lot of things that I might not be exactly accurate on. But when you stick to the foundational principles as much as possible, and this goes along with the development of AI, then it starts to at least make sense. So I even have relativity to imagination. Little test here you can do with your friends. And as well as equations, I'll fix up this site when I get the chance. I have more to add as I've been learning more about the unitary equation, the unitary theory with particle physics. Been learning more about that, as well as coding languages with AI, how AI is developed, the frameworks, the logic frameworks, and their developments as well. These are all important things to consider as we head right into the future. Because a lot of these things happen exponentially. Just like what Neil deGrasse Tyson mentioned about the lifespan. It was just a 5-year little drag for a while. From the beginning of human civilization till like the 19th century. And then all of a sudden it shot right up. Went from 35 to what, like the 70s or 80s now? So we see that. And we see exponentiality in so many different aspects of the universe of reality, whether it's science, math, how you view things philosophically. It's all relative in some way. It's all relative to existence and truth. And if you want truth to exist over time, then you gotta believe in it. Or, well, you gotta believe in the actual truth relative to reality. Not the BS that's constantly being fed to you. Sound like Casey the car guy here at this point. But it's all very important stuff to learn. Take the time to learn, to go over. There's one little thing I still want to go over as well. Go here. Could have just did another page, but there was another little thing that is kind of relative to what I'm working on, trying to figure out. It's here. Nope. Post. So UC Berkeley released this today or yesterday? Yesterday. Beyond neural networks, symbolic reasoning over wavelet logic graph signals. Now, this is a little weird similarity, besides this equation being similar to the velocity equation. Distance over time. Well, not distance over time. I guess E equals mc squared, something like that. There's some relativity to the structure, but just something I found interesting, which maybe it'll make sense, maybe not. This little graph right here. So it looks like a little circle in this one quadrant. Interpretability and rule visualization, core data set, neural networks. It's kind of similar to one quadrant of this. More so if you want to look at from here. It's kind of a circle, not exact. I mean, from that other graph. But those corners, I mean, shows what it shows. So maybe there's some relativity here in regards to the amount of energy that exists over time in form. Depends on the form that you're looking at, depends on the application. But the graphical representation is very similar to the one quadrant. So as AI develops, starts to understand possibility, impossibility, and extinction, what doesn't exist anymore in form, maybe in a different form, how the flow of time works, how the flow of energy works over time, and how actions that occur in the universe dictate the flow of time. This is stuff that I've realized for a bit, especially the edge of chaos theory. That's another thing. But when I reworked this and started adding in those points of relativity, expanding on the mathematical aspects, physics aspects, relating the equations for form of actions, because an action needs a reason and an intent to occur. Essentially, the intent might not exactly align to how the action works, or maybe you get the result that you didn't intend, but that's due to human error and not being able to see far enough ahead, not being able to understand the potential consequences of an action. But you can still, from that action happening, derive a reason and intent from it. That's the whole point of the justice system. That's the whole point of going to court, testifying, taking the time to understand why certain actions were committed. The whole point of due process. I go over that in the constitutional analysis. As this might be the philosophical theory of everything, in a sense. The relativity and the other aspects of the modeled equations have striking similarities to physics, biology, and other aspects of reality and study, how we see things. I was able to apply it to the Constitution. You can too. You want to learn something, you want to learn what words are, look up a dictionary, read it. If you find a word that you don't understand, look that up too. A little bit of a rabbit hole, a little bit of a chase, but it's worth it while we still have time. So, and as my mother taught me, if you want to learn about law, you listen to lawyers. Very important lesson. So, that's what I did. I've taken government classes in college, high school as well. I've taken the time to listen to different channels like Midas Touch, Legal AF, because they are lawyers, practiced lawyers. They've been in the game for a while. Some lawyers have ill intent, as we've seen, but when it comes to the rule of law and the Constitution and the words within it, it's very absolute. It's just been misinterpreted for one reason or another. I mean, that's always been the struggle. Try to facilitate understanding, and this is the best I can do. And hell, I mean, I'm worried that even this is going to be held against me along with everyone else that's speaking about these sorts of issues, especially with the current changes going on. So all I can do is take the time now to show you what I've seen, show you my understanding, and hopefully it resonates with you in some way. And hopefully you could take the time to see what's going on and be able to make the right decisions come time to vote, if we can even vote anymore. So that's another thing, but I don't know. I mean, the more that's allowed to happen, then the more possible things are. But it depends on what's being allowed to happen. But anyways, like this if you like this. Chat in the comments down below. Yap it up. Share experiences. Share how you feel about all of this. I mean, we can only do what we can. Unfortunately, money talks, and the ones that understand that have been taking advantage of it way too much. And this is where things have gone because of that. Because people have more value in a piece of paper than blood and bones. They see more value in that, and it's unfortunate because for humanity to continue to exist, you got to care about it. That's just facts, and I don't know, but that's the other thing that's very sad, seeing the amount of people that are supporting this type of thing that are getting involved just for the money, thinking that it's not going to come around and bite them in the ass. Truly, that sort of ignorance has consequences. Maybe if they're trying to wait out the storm, I don't know, but it doesn't help that they're doing the wrong thing in regards to existence. And as things get worse, less options become available. It's just the way it is. I mean, history will repeat itself if these things are not understood, because it's happening all around the world, not even just in America. So, without humility and accountability, we're probably doomed. When ignorance is allowed to prevail, to dictate everything else with ill intent, with selfish intent, I know that's not what people voted for. But god damn did we get scammed. So, I don't know. We can only hope that things change for the better, but the current state of affairs, I don't see it. Anyways, I got shit to do. Hopefully this actually records this time and works. Till next time, I'll do some other different content. This is the only time I'm really going to talk about this Epstein stuff. It's so blatant and obvious, and I mean, fuck your excuses, man. Like, oh my god. I don't know. I got nothing else to say. Peace. Be safe out there. Do the right thing. Preserve existence. Step out of your own head. Treat others the way you want to be treated. That's all. Keep it civil. And don't let anyone take advantage of you, your beliefs, if they're the right beliefs. Love your neighbor. You know, help the homeless if you can before they get thrown in the prison. I don't know, man.